Hello, it's Dawn Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a pretty exciting video to share with you. I have created a deck. Okay, well actually I created a couple of decks. So I'll talk about these here at the end of the video. There will be a timestamp because these were kind of just, well, this is just a revised edition of a deck I'd already made. And this is a deck that I had been collaging that I pretty much took, scanned in, and then turned into a deck. So we'll take a really quick flip through these at the end of the video. But what I want to talk about mostly is the main Oracle deck that I have created. And it is called the Sacred Threads Oracle. So I'm going to share with you the cards, I'm going to share with you the guidebook and journal, and then we're going to do some pairings because I have a whole bunch of decks that I want to try playing with this one. I have done some readings with it, obviously. I have one deck in particular that I've been using with it, which I will share with you, but I have some others that I want to play with too. So there will be timestamps for everything in the description box below, as well as a link to where you can find the decks. I have the full size and the pocket edition available on Make Playing Cards, and the guidebook and journal is available on Amazon. Again, links all in the description box below. I really am not entirely sure what the best way is to like share this deck. So I'm just gonna do a quick little flip through of all the cards in it. I'll do a quick little flip through of the guidebook, and then we're just gonna get to the pairings because really I think as you'll see, this deck is fairly intuitive. It is pretty much based on things that are kind of important in my own practice. And so it does feel like a very intuitive deck for me, and you'll see the way that I created the guidebook, I definitely intend it to be used that way. So I really just kind of want to see it in action with some of the tarot. But let's take a quick peek. It does come in a tuck box. We have the title card on the front, and then I will show you the backs here, which are kind of this, you know, spacey galaxy thing going on, which will probably be no surprise to anybody. I have a author card in the back. So let me just take a quick flip through this deck with you so you can see all of the cards. And I will tell you what's on each of them, even though I just have keywords. They are listed in the guidebook. So if you want to know like what I drew on these cards, it is listed in the guidebook. There is a PDF version of the guidebook that comes with the deck. So on that original title card, there is a link for a PDF. You'll get that in both the pocket and the full-size edition. And then if you'd like to purchase the additional paperback guidebook, that's available on Amazon. I created this deck in Procreate, and I'll be honest, this was when I first got Procreate, I started playing around with drawing, just drawing on a digital platform, right, on a digital tablet. I am primarily a graphic artist by trade, so a lot of what I have done in my past and my process is more in the either traditional mediums like drawing, painting, and that sort of thing on paper. I definitely love collage. You see that come through a lot of my journaling as well. But when it comes to digital, I've generally been a digital artist, a digital collage person. So taking photographs, manipulating them, working with things in that way. This was the first time that I really had ever drawn on a tablet, and so I started playing with it and eventually ended up creating a whole deck of things that were important to me, which ended up turning into this Sacred Threads Oracle. So I'll tell you a little bit about what's on each card, and again, we'll do some pairings here in a moment. So the first card is the adaptation card, and this shows the tree frog, which I live in the Pacific Northwest, so tree frogs are really predominant around here, and I just love the ability of a tree frog to be able to traverse multiple environments. So next we have the eclipse with alignment, kind of a little bit of a duality, some balancing of light and shadow there. We have the crystals with attunement. I'm not going to go too far into all of these cards because we would be here forever. And I really do want to kind of get to the pairings. So here we have awareness, and this is the sun coming through a darkened forest. Balance with some stacked up stones on a beach. The lighthouse with beacon. We have thorns with boundary. I'll talk about the cardstock and all of that too when we get to sort of the more nitty gritty of the detail. I just want to kind of take a quick flip through the cards so that you can see them. So we have the compression card, and this is a black hole. We have the connection card with otters. The labyrinth with contemplation. The cup of coffee with contentment. A create with the web. There is no spider in that card for those that are kind of leery of spiders. I'm right there with you, so there's no spiders, just the web. The moon with cycles. I love having the moon and the water in this card, kind of really leaning into that intuition, that kind of high priestessy energy. Here we have decay, and this is like an actual, like a sort of modern or maybe even futuristic city that has kind of fallen to ruins. There's a little bit of a sci-fi bent to it. There's a few cards that kind of dip into that here and there because that is a part of my personal practice. So we have decision with the crossroads, the depth with the whale. You know, I had to have a whale, right? Here's our encounter card, which does kind of feature two different things. It is Bigfoot because, again, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and a UFO beaming up Bigfoot. So really for me, the encounter card is just about being open to possibilities, being open to the things that we don't necessarily understand. We just kind of have an open mind and an open heart to it. So I love that for the encounter energy. Here we have entangle with blackberries. Blackberries grow like weeds, and they are kind of weeds where I live. They sort of strangle and take over everything, but there's a bit of sort of like that sort of bonded energy in that as well, right? Light and shadow, and that's really one of the things that I wanted to do with this deck was really kind of show the light and shadow of all of these things, because to me, it's really neither one nor the other. It can be both. So here we have exploration with kind of this darkened forest. Again, we sort of see some sunbeams coming through. We have a rabbit with fertility. This is the stalk card. This is just a stalk of a plant, so for focus, really getting clear about certain things. We have the lightning strike with fracture. Again, I did it over the ocean, pulling in that intuitive energy as well. We have the bonfire with gathering. So for me, this is really like the community card, right? That's all of us. We have the little sprout with growth. Then the guardian is an angel, and it's kind of multifaceted because it's also a statue. So it's kind of a statue that's standing guard, or it can be representative of an angel or divine influence. So I kind of like those two different aspects of it. Here we have the stars with guidance, and the chickadee with harmony. We have hidden with the tree hollow here. Hope with the rainbow. This one is a cool one. It's one of the first few cards I did. This is it's the Horsetail Falls, which is a waterfall, and it's nicknamed the Firefall because I do believe it's for a few weeks, not months. I believe it's a few weeks out of the year. The sun hits it just right that it makes it look like it's on fire. So it's the illusion card because it's very temporary. It's not really a fire fall as it's nicknamed. It is water, but it takes the illusion of fire, right? Which is so contradictory to water, which I absolutely just love that idea and that metaphor. So I definitely had to include one of those. We have the book and the stories with imagination. We have the candle with intention, the comet for journey. Here we have the ancestors with the handprints for legacy, kind of looking at, what's been left behind for us as well as what we leave behind for others. Here is our fairy ring with magic. This is the Northern Lights, which kind of for me represents the Akashic Records, which ties back into memory. Then we have the cave here with mystery. Also, I kind of love, this might be like spoilers for anybody, but every time I look at this card now, it wasn't intentional, but this to me looks like a figure. It looks like a person. The cave is the person. The mystery is the person. It's the depths beneath the depths beneath ourselves, but also it's about the initiatory journey into whatever it is that we're learning, or we can see it as the initiatory journey into our own sense of self, into our own intuitive nature. That was just kind of happenstance. It didn't really mean for it to kind of look like a person, but to me it kind of looks like a person where like their shoulder is kind of sideways. I'm gesturing like you can see me. But it's just kind of a funny little happenstance. Here we have obscure with the fog or the mist. Obstacle with the mountain. Then we have the crow for omen. This was one of the original cards I drew to which I just loved. It was so much fun. This is Patience, and this is actually a mossy rock, but the way that the holes have come through it also makes it kind of look like a skull, which I really love. It really is the idea of, you know, having patience, let nature take its own course, let things happen in their own time. So it kind of ended up having multiple layers to it as I was drawing it. Not necessarily intentional, but that's kind of what comes through when you draw things, I think. We have a bat for perception. Had to include a bat for my youngest, who absolutely adores bat, but like, isn't he adorable? Love it. Here we have the boardwalk for progress. So boardwalk going out to the beach. We have the bear for protection. The purification for the wildfire, and this was actually the very first card I ever did where I was like, I could do this, I can draw an oracle card. There's a whole story. I shared it with my members. I won't go into it here, but there's a whole story behind this card, which is kind of funny every time it pops up for me. We have resistance, and this is the beach, primarily focusing in on the rocks, because the rocks, while they are worn away by the ocean, right, they do remain there. They don't get swept away in the tide, and I kind of love that idea. So here we have another statue with reverence, and this is the Black Madonna statue, again, tying into that divinity if you want, or just having reverence for the things that have come before. Here we have the apple with sacred. Apples are pretty big where I live, so like that's I think a wonderful thing. Also, there's a whole tie-in with, you know, apples and biblical references, as well as metaphysical and like Avalonian references, so I just thought that was really fun to include. Here we have the snowy forest with solitude. The cosmos with source, definitely had to have a source card. We have the bull with stability, a little bit tying into my Taurus nature there, but also I like just to illustrate a furry bull is just fun. We have support with the roots. I love the roots kind of coming down. We actually get to see them in this card, like as if, you know, we had cut away slices of the land. We could see the roots underneath. So here we have transformation with the butterfly and transition with the portal. And anybody who's been on my channel for like a hot minute probably knows that like I'm a huge Stargate fan. So like I had to have a sort of Stargatey portal thing, but honestly like portal energy, doorways, that kind of thing is a huge part of my practice anyway. So like it works beyond that, but yeah, it's a bit of a Stargate reference, I'll be honest. So we have the wildflowers with untamed, and the elephant with wisdom, because I do also have an affinity for elephants. The one thing you will not find in this deck is orcas. I did draw an orca card, but that one ended up being really kind of personal and specific to me, so I ended up removing it from the deck. So that is the Sacred Threads Oracle, the standard size edition, which is roughly the size of a traditional oracle. Let's just pull out a, this is a Hay House Oracle here, so you can kind of see how it is in comparison. They are pretty much the same size. So it's the same size as a Hay House Oracle. It is on linen cardstock, so you'll probably be able to catch glimpses of the linen finish in some of the cards and some of the artwork. And I forget what the GSM is because I don't remember. It's listed on the page. It does shuffle beautifully. Now that we're done, oh, here, let me show you the pocket in comparison really quickly. Again, this one comes in a tuck box as well. Same kind of deal with our extra cards, and you can see here that it is just, I believe this is poker sized, so it's the same deck in poker size. So here's the elephants in comparison. So you can see it's quite a bit smaller. So it's your traditional sort of playing card size pocket deck, which is always fun. Let's give each of these a shuffle just so you can see. Again, this one is also in linen finish. Same finish as this. It's a bit slippy, as you can see, it's sliding around. So let me just give you a little sample here of the shuffle, because the linen cardstock at Make Playing Cards does shuffle like a dream. And we're gonna do some playing with pairs. So we might as well give it a shuffle. All right, so it riffles really well. It overhands nicely. I have not edged mine yet, just because, like, you know how it goes with prototypes when you're making a deck. I had like a ton of these, and so I haven't edged any of them, but this is the final version. Let me show you how the pocket one shuffles now. Again, it's a lovely, lovely little shuffle. Actually, I keep the pocket one just like with me, on me. It's also just fun to just shuffle. There are, wow, I can't even remember how many cards there are, y'all. That's terrible. I think I made 56. Plus 2 title cards. So like 58, somewhere around there. I don't know, it's 50 plus. Clearly you can see I'm like real professional. But here's the thing with this deck. This is the deck that I wanted to exist in the world and it didn't, so I made it. That's kind of where we're at. That's where we're at with a lot of my oracles. So that is the pocket edition. Put that back. Y'all know how I feel about tuck boxes, but like some people really like them, so I gave y'all a tuck box. Mine will probably be getting bags. Before we go into the pairings, let's just take a quick peek at the guidebook just so you can see what it looks like and what I've done with it, because I've done something a little bit different because, like, honestly, I did not want to write this guidebook. It took me 8 months to write this guidebook, and you'll see that's not super impressive considering there's not a ton in here. I'll be perfectly honest. The book is just your standard Amazon, you know, make your own book at Amazon thing. It's got a nice kind of matte finish, rubbery matte finish cover. And you'll see in here that it's got some doodles, it's got the general stuff, the table of contents. If you have the PDF version of this, all of the titles are linked. So if you just click on them in your PDF, it will take you directly to that page. Everything is in alphabetical order with page numbers, and you'll see here, like, the intro line in my guidebook is I absolutely did not want to write this guidebook because that is where I was at. This to me was an art, an expression through art, not through words, and being that I am a writer as well, those things exist in different spaces for me. So trying to take words to art, to my own art, was quite an interesting process, and it didn't really go very well for a very long time. I struggled. But what I ended up doing, because I really wanted this deck to be something that could be used a bit more intuitive, so I've turned this into a journal slash guidebook. This, half of this stuff, all the illustrations in the guidebook are all my own little doodles. The titles are all my own handwriting. So this is a combination of me drawing things out and hopefully you adding to it as well, because you'll see over here there's a personal threads with some just blank lines. I made them fairly light so you can either use the lines or totally ignore them and do your own thing. I have the full color little image of the what the card is. I have what's actually featured on the card. So the keyword is the top, what's featured on the card, you know, what I drew is in down here underneath it. I have my own personal keywords or key phrases for the card that I tend to use. So for like adaptation, we have embrace change, ever shifting opportunities, overcoming adversity, lessons of flexibility, ecosystem adjustment, and explore your adaptive powers. Then on every page, I have 3 prompts, which you can either use just as thoughts, as ways to reflect deeper on the card. You can use them as actual spread prompts as well. So if you want to pull one of these and do 3 tarot with it, these will give you some key items to tap into and to look at when exploring the energies of the cards. So for example, in adaptation with Tree Frog, we have, in what area of your life do you currently feel the need to adapt? 2 is, are there any hidden patterns or habits that are hindering your adaptability? And how can you break free from these limitations and embrace change? So you'll see all throughout here, that is the same setup. Every one has its own little doodle because that's just fun. And you'll see that's pretty much the entire guidebook. So it is one part a sort of guidebook plus some journaling and or spread prompts, and then a place for you to include your own, because I really wanted this to be able to be sort of a shared experience between you and I, where I've made my contributions to it, and then you can add your own over here. If you do add your own personal threads and you feel like sharing, I would love to see them. So definitely, like if you do something on Facebook or Instagram, definitely tag me. I'd love to see. So that is the guidebook and journal, because it does sort of function as both. Okay, so that's like all the preliminary boring stuff, right? All the like salesy crap that I hate. Let's get into the pairings, because that is what I really want to play with. Okay, so there are a couple of decks that I've chosen. Actually, I have a lot of decks because I just want to play with it with a lot of different things. So one of the decks I chose was the Oh my goodness, Midnight Magic. I always want to call it the Mushroom Tarot, but that is not the name of it. So I've got some decks with some different sort of art styles throughout this little playing with pairs, because I wanted to see how my deck would hold up to different art styles, because mine is primarily like, it's an illustrated deck, right? I drew all these things. So here we have boundaries between the Five of Swords and the Ten of Wands. That's kind of cool. Because I have so many decks, we will probably have to like refresh the Oracle multiple times, because we're probably going to be here for a little bit. So we have memory. So remember, for me, memory is that Akashic records. It doesn't have to be. It can also just be tapping into the idea of the Northern Lights, which is also really fantastic. And it's between Judgment and the Emperor. That's pretty cool. I really like that. Compression with the Queen of Swords and the Nine of Cups. So we're just going to kind of do a little bit of a flip through with a couple different decks and see how it goes. We have the support between the King of Pentacles and the Queen of Cups. That's really cool. I think that artistically, they seem to go fairly well together. I love the sort of illustrated energy that we have between all the cards. Look at this, Decay, sorry, I got distracted. Decay with the Devil and the Seven of Wands. And I love how these little green glowy mushrooms kind of mimic the buildings, but also we have the two buildings here, and then we have the two kind of like supplicant mushrooms here. There's just something, I could dive into this message like quite deeply, which would be really fun. Perspective with the King of Wands and the Nine of Wands. That's pretty cool. The Sacred Threads is pretty much full of like, it's full of real mundane things in a really sort of basic sense, right? Like we have snow and we have trees and we have bats, and like it's full of the everyday things hidden with the Chariot and the Magician. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna get distracted and ramble. I'm just gonna apologize, because like there's probably a lot that I feel like I need to share, and it's just gonna happen. Untamed with the High Priestess and the Three of Pentacles. So anyway, I kind of love this idea of taking sort of this magical energy that we have here, because in the Mushroom Tarot, there are like little, it's not the Mushroom Tarot. Why do I keep calling it that? The Midnight Magic. It should really just be the Mushroom Tarot, y'all, just saying. I love how there's often little like sprites or fairies or little magical creatures in this deck, and then my deck is more tapping into the mundane at this point. And so hopefully it will be able to traverse both of those, but the Untamed with the Moon and the Seven of Swords is kind of awesome. And look, the colors even match. And you all know how I feel about matching colors. All right, let's pick another deck because I have a ton. Okay, the next deck that I want to try is really a longtime favorite deck in my collection, and I do not know if it will go visually really well with the Sacred Threads or not. It is also an illustrated deck, but it is has a lot of line illustrations, where my deck is primarily lineless. And so I thought it'd be really interesting to see how those two work together. So here we have Focus between the Seven of Swords and the Hanged Man. I actually really love that. The Focus is all about, you know, seeking that clarity, getting really tuned into what it is that you're trying to do. And Hangman energy is a perfect energy to do that in. So that's pretty cool. Let's see how it goes. We have Create with the Tower and the Nine of Pentacles. The art styles are obviously quite different. The Dreaming Way Tarot is more of a traditionally illustrated deck. Why is the King upside down? Hey dude, flip around. And so it might not be the best visually, so we'll have to see how it goes. And that's kind of what this playing with pairs is. I just want to spend some time playing with them, and I thought I would take you along. It's not actually a playing with pairs because I'm just doing one deck, but we're going to play with pairs in the middle of my walkthrough. So Balance with the Chariot and the King of Swords. I mean, this is one of my favorite decks, so like I didn't really think it would go really super well in terms of the art styles. However, I love the Dreaming Way, so I just wanted to give it a try. So we have Fracture between the Four of Swords and the Knight of Cups. That's interesting. There are definitely other decks that I have in my collection that pair much better with the Dreaming Way, artistically speaking. But I think they go together well enough. Legacy between the Three of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune. That's interesting. All right, let's just do one more with this one. Patience, Ten of Cups, Four of Cups. Definitely need some patience in that Cups energy. Okay, now I thought we'd try something a bit more modern. This is the Fifth Spirit Tarot, and see how this goes. Something a bit more modern, a bit more everyday. My piles are not at all even. That's creating a huge shadow, so we'll pull that away. All right, so we have imagination between the Fool and the Sun. Yeah, I think that works pretty well. Contemplation with the Ten of Pentacles and the Three of Cups. I also really want to pair this with like a full-on pip deck, so I will pull one of those out. Reverence between the Knight of Cups and Judgment. I mean, I think these are working okay. The Fifth Spirit is kind of a pippy deck, so I feel like my really heavily illustrated oracle is not overpowering the tarot, which is really nice. So we have Resistance with Strength and the Ten of Swords. Kind of like that. Obstacle, Seven of Pentacles and the Devil. Let's do one more with this deck. Awareness with the Six of Pentacles and the Tower. Actually, I think they're working quite well together. I do really like it. Okay, one more, just because, like, I can't. I just have to try. Journey with the Six of Wands and the King of Pentacles. I love it. Also, I feel like the colors are really compatible across the cards, so actually I'm pretty happy with this pairing. I think it works really well. Okay, I do want to try it with a very pippy deck, and I'm going to pull out like my all-time favorite pip deck, which is the Cursed Auguries Tarot. I do believe this one might be currently out of print, and there are some a little bit challenging cards in this. So there are spiders, there are nails through the hands. In this deck, I have not pulled those cards out, just giving you a little bit of a warning, but maybe none of those will come up. So one of the things that I really like to do with a heavily illustrated oracle like mine, although like none of my illustrations are like super maximalist, I'm a pretty minimalist person in general, and my art is that way as well. But I feel like it works really well with a pip deck. So here we have Omen with Temperance and the Three of Pentacles. That's pretty cool. I like that. Fertility between the Five of Cups and the Seven of Cups. I love that. I feel like it really, oracles like this really help to bring out the messages in the pips. So I think this is actually working really well. Sacred with the Page of Cups and the Queen of Swords. Love that one. Harmony with the Eight of Pentacles and the Seven of Wands. That's kind of beautiful too. Ooh, we've got the Chariot and the Queen of Wands. Again, art styles are totally different, but I think it does work. Okay, the next deck that I'm going to pair it with is the Pythonic Tarot. This one might currently be out of print as well. Again, there'll be links for everything in the description box below. But because my deck really does kind of really focus more in on sort of like the mundane, everyday aspect of things, although I've included like kind of that above and below energy in every card, that's the intention. Like here's the mundane and the magical. And you'll see that come through the little like keyword threads that are in this book. But I felt like it might be interesting to pair it with a deck that for me goes really into the magical. And so I thought this one might be a good one. So we have Alignment with the Sorceress and the Queen of Chalices. Kind of like that. Adaptation with the Princess of Chalices and the Ace of Blades. Again, artistically speaking, not the best pairing in the world. The Earth, Moon, and Shadow is like the most amazing pairing with this deck, but I'm just throwing mine with it just to see what happens. So Decision with the Princess of Blade and the Seven of Chalices. It kind of works. It's not bad. It's not bad. Eight of Crystals with the Empress and Growth. I feel like it goes well enough with everything. I don't feel like we've hit upon like the really amazing pairing yet. I do know there is one, so I know there's at least one in this video. So it's kind of just me playing around with it with a few other decks just to see how it goes. I do think it works fairly well with this. Contemplation with the Three of Crystals and the Six of Wands. It kind of makes me feel like, how can I take the magical and the mundane and blend them together? Like Hope, the Hermit, and the Three of Chalices. That's kind of beautiful. I like that one. Let's do one more. Fracture with the Ten of Blades and the Queen of Blades. I mean, like that totally works for me. So I think it works. I like the balance of the magical and the mundane, the kind of light and shadow that's coming through these readings, these little card flips. So I think that's really cool. All right, so we've done the illustrated thing. Let's do a few sort of collage-y style decks. This is the new Rain Shadow Tarot, which is a beautiful deck. I'm really enjoying working with this one. So I thought this might be interesting because this is a fairly busy deck. I mean, it's more minimalistic compared to some collage style decks. It's very cohesive, and so I thought it might actually balance out really well with my little bit more simplistic images that I have here. So we have balance between the Five of Wands and the King of Wands. I kind of like that. Also, again, I feel like the colors are going to be compatible because Claire Mac uses a similar color palette as I like. So I feel like they're gonna go really well together. Create with the Queen of Wands and the Four of Wands. I mean, like the colors are kind of picking up the sort of webby whites and grays kind of reflected here. And then obviously with the whole tree background, that's kind of reflected in this color here, as well as the dresses and the flowers. So I feel like there is a lot of stuff you could do color-wise with these two pairings, mostly just because Claire's deck has so many beautiful colors in it. Like, I feel like they work together really well. This is beautiful. Depth with the Queen of Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune. I kind of like that. I do kind of feel like maybe collage might be where it's at, like pairing this deck with collage might be where it's at. And that completely makes me happy, because one of the reasons that I wanted to create an oracle as well was because I struggle to find oracle decks that pair well with my busier collage decks or just collage in general. And I was hoping that mine would. So I think so far I'm liking what I'm seeing here. So we have transition with the Knight of Wands and the Four of Swords. I like that. Exploration with the King of Swords and the Empress. I do actually feel like they go together quite well, even though clearly our art styles are very, very different. Claire's art style is like, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Like, I almost feel like putting my deck next to all of these so beautifully illustrated decks is kind of like, I feel like mine's not holding up, but that's probably just like my own shadow coming through there, right? So we have Focus with the Ten of Pentacles and the Moon. Untamed with the Seven of Swords and the Six of Wands. I like that. I feel like this one actually works really well. There's a different sort of energy. I do like to pair my tarot and oracle where they do sometimes have different styles on purpose, because I feel like they complement each other, or I'm trying to specifically contrast. I feel like these are more complementary than they are contrasting, even though they are two different art styles. But I think they work. Imagination with the Ace of Cups and Five of Cups. All right, let's do one more. Solitude with the Nine of Swords and the Eight of Wands. Interesting. Again, so much color I could pick up on in these little pairings. Okay, so let's try collage that is a bit more like photographic in nature. So I have the Rosebud Tarot here. This is the indie edition, although this deck is available mass market. I don't have the mass market one yet, so I'm not sure what the changes are, but just to let you know that there could possibly be changes. But I thought we would try it because this is, again, it's still collage, but it does lean more into like photography in the collage. So I thought that might be really interesting with my sort of hand-drawn oracle deck that I have here. So we have the Guardian with Emergence and the Professor. That works. Again, I think the color palettes are going to be compatible because clearly, like, I have a lot of tarot decks that fall into the color palette that I prefer. So obviously my own art style is going to reflect that. Perception with the Six of Water and the Velocity of Air. Yeah, I kind of like that. Definitely picking up on some color vibrations there for sure. The Illusion card with the Five of Fire and the Ace of Earth. I actually think these work together pretty well. I really like the Rosebud because although it is collage, it's very sort of minimalistic collage, so it doesn't feel like overwhelming or chaotic to me. That's not an energy that I can really handle in my collage deck, so I don't have a ton of those, but I think this is really beautiful. Transformation with Curiosity of Earth and the Devil. Yeah, I'm actually really happy to see this working so well with collage decks because that has really been a struggle for me to find oracles that I feel like don't compete with my collage decks. So we have Decay with Balance and the Four of Fire. Yes, I like that. Progress with Generosity of Earth and Three of Air. Yeah, I think that works really well. All right, let's do one more. Contentment with the Ace of Water and the Ten of Fire. I do like that. I think that one works really well too. Okay, so before this video gets too incredibly long, I want to talk about the tarot deck that I've been primarily pairing with, and then again I'll show you another way that I work with my own oracle deck. This is the oh my goodness, is it the Quintessential Thoth by Lennon Smith? This is also on Make Playing Cards. And the really fun thing about this is these two decks, my deck and the this deck, are on the exact same cardstock. So they feel really cool together. Like they feel the same tactilely, which is really cool. This is what I think really, really shines when I put the Sacred Threads with the Quintessential Thought, because it is an abstract based deck. I did not pull out any other abstract decks. I definitely could have and could give them a try, but like this for me, this is the ultimate pairing with my deck. And I just like, I've had so much fun working with these together. They are just amazing. So we have the Hierophant and the Eight of Swords with the Beacon. There is something about the colors that come through a lot of the times with this particular pairing, where I'm able to pick up on certain colors or certain shapes that are echoed through across the different cards, and that just adds a total another layer to my working with it, which has just been amazing. And I just think they go really well together. So we have Patience with the Queen of Discs and the Ace of Discs, also like green, and definitely you can pull in that green color. This to me is just like the ultimate pairing. I think it works so well together. So many times I get like cohesive colors across all the cards. This is my favorite 3-card reading with this. It's just amazing. Purification with the Three of Wands and the Sun. Fantastic. Legacy with the Hangman and the Ace of Swords. I mean, this to me is where it's at. It's so much fun. Cycles with the Seven of Discs and the Two of Wands. Love it. Compression with the Six of Swords and the Four of Wands. It's just, there's just something really magical about what happens when these two decks come together. I like, not even sure I can explain it. Like, let me sound like a broken record, right? It's that felt experience, and can I articulate it? Usually not, but there is magic that happens with these decks on the table for me personally. And it's just amazing. I mean, like, look at this. Awareness with the Ten of Wands and the Knight of Wands. Just beautiful. All that orange, yellow, sunburst energy is so amazing. Yeah, I just really, really enjoy these ones together. I just think they work so well. I think the abstract combined with my particular art style works incredibly well together. There's just something really amazing that happens in little conversations that these two decks have. All right, so before this video gets like ridiculously long, let me talk a little bit about how I've also been working with this deck. Sometimes I will just take this deck and I will give it a shuffle, and I will see what energy needs to come through. And let's pull a card. And we got transition. So now I would take this card, this energy, and I would think about what deck to me in my collection speaks to me of transition, what deck to me feels like it would sit in alignment with this particular card. And then that would be the deck, the tarot deck that I would get to pair with it. So rather than picking a tarot deck ahead of time, sometimes, and I've mentioned this in other videos that I've done this with other oracle decks too, it works particularly well with mine. Could just be because like this is full of stuff of my own personal practice. You'll all have to let me know if you try it, how it works for you. When I pull these particular cards, I will get, you know, think about the decks in my collection that represent that sort of energy. So what deck might I choose? What tarot might I choose to go with it that feels like that transition energy, that feels like the portal, the gateway, the access into another realm? Let's just do that really quick. So having gotten the transition card, what I would be called to pull is my cat people, because this to me feels like literally stepping through like a Stargate or a portal into another world. And so I would, you know, give this little deck a shuffle. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I would give this deck a shuffle and I would pull my 3 cards around it. And this is generally how I've been working with my own oracle when I'm not working with the Quintessential Thoth. I'll be honest, that's the deck I've been primarily using it with. But when I'm not entirely sure what I need or what I want, this is the process that I use. So I pulled transition, I got my cat people, and my message is the 10 of Swords, the 8 of Swords, and the 6 of Cups. You can see here if I get into the guidebook for transition, oh look, I opened right up to it. I could also use the prompts here. So if I was pulling these in relation to these 3 prompts, it would be what area of your life is calling for you to step into the unknown. I got the 10 of Swords. How can you cultivate a sense of trust in the journey that lies ahead with the Eight of Swords, and what potential might lie beyond the threshold of your current understanding with the Six of Cups. So that is also a lot of how I've been working with my own oracle, is letting the oracle card itself dictate what tarot deck I'm going to pair with it. Let's do another one just for fun. So like obviously I have a fairly large tarot deck collection, so this type of a process and an energy works really well for me. It also is great when I have sort of like deck paralysis and I don't know what deck I want to pick in terms of like what tarot. I'll just pull out my oracle and I'll pull a card and see if that one wants to come out, and see what we get. So I got attunement with crystals. What am I feeling for this one? I am feeling my absolute lovely, fun little, oh my goodness, why can I never remember the name of this deck? It's out of print, so I probably shouldn't have grabbed this one. But this is the one that immediately came to mind as soon as I saw this particular card. This is the, I'll put a link to it below, y'all. Like I can't think of it right this 5 minutes. But it feels kind of into the magical sort of fae world. There are a lot of fae in this deck. So here I've got attunement with the Ace of Wands, the Nine of Rings, and the Queen of Cups. Again, I could use my 3 prompts in the guidebook as well if I wanted to. But for me, because of the green, the crystal, like the way that the colors relate on this card, also the idea of like attunement, the crystal being embedded into the earth, that makes me think of this. Is it Fairy Folklore Tarot? I can't remember. Anyway, that kind of is the energy that I was drawn to when I was looking at this card, and this is the deck that came to mind. Let's do one more. One more just for fun. We won't even shuffle. Let's just split, see what we get. And we've got Obscure with the Fog. What is that making me think of? The deck that came to mind for me was the Anima Mundi Tarot. So we've got a 3 of Wands. I feel like this is telling me, this sort of pairing would be telling me like, that these are the things that are obscured and maybe what I can do to tap into it or to get beyond, to get some clarity around it. Also like pulling in additional oracle is great, just because like clearly I don't have enough going on the table here. Let's pull my little sovereign oracle because I have it at hand, and I'm just gonna pull, like randomly pull a couple of cards. So I've got agreement and alignment. So again, this is another way that I like to work with this deck, and then I would look at kind of like, how did these two things go together? How did these two things go together? And how does that help me kind of clear the fog of what I can't see, what I'm unable to experience right now? So yeah, that's a really fun one. This is, I really quickly, just because we're here and I can't keep a straight thought in my head. Again, the Anima Mundi has a really similar color palette to the Sacred Thread, so I feel like they're going to go together really well. So I just thought we'll give that a try since we're here. So Resistance with the Knight of Swords and the 10 of Wands. It's beautiful. Clearly this video is going to be all over the place. I mean, this is interesting. Encounter. Have we seen the Encounter card? I feel like we haven't. But I love how the colors, like the brown is just pulling me to the wands, the cluster of wands here, and the bat. Right, that brown of the dirt, the grounded earthiness is kind of pulling me through these cards, but yet we have that idea of sort of the maybe looking at things from a different sort of perspective, like that sort of bat kind of hangman energy. Maybe we're getting a little too bogged down in all of that. We need to open up our mind, our hearts to some different ideas. Like this actually works together really well. Look at this one, exploration with death and the 5 of Wands. Yeah. Also like the art styles, I think of everything that we've looked at so far today, I feel like the art style in the Anima Mundi is as close to my own as I've pulled out yet, or possibly that I've even actually seen in my collection so far at all in working with this deck over the last, I don't know how long it's been. Like close to a year probably. I've been illustrating it for over a year. And I feel like these two are the closest to be compatible in terms of the art styles. Yeah, I feel like these actually are phenomenal. Protection, Page of Cups, Ace of Swords. I'll just flip through a couple of them really quickly just so we can kind of see how they're gonna work together. Also, I have a lot of very heavy nature sort of based cards in my deck. And so I feel like, yeah, like they work together really well. So lots of plants and animals. This one does have the orca. I know I pulled the orca out of my deck, but it was for reasons. I had reasons. Solitude with the Knight of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles. Interesting. So yeah, I feel like these are up there. These are top. I really like it. Yeah. Oh, let's end on that. Depth with the Tower and Strength. Love it. Beautiful. You know, obviously, I made the deck. It always feels weird. I guess I haven't actually made a deck for sale besides the Rusted Lenormand, so it feels kind of like weird to say like this is a great deck and this is how I've been working with it, because of course, I think it's a great deck. I illustrated it, and I've been working with it, using it like I showed you, primarily either with the Quintessential Thoth, although I'm definitely going to have to give it some playtime with the Anima Mundi, and the Rain Shadow, because I think those were both stellar pairings. But I'm happy to see that it goes really well with a lot of my collage stuff, because that's really where I was feeling like there was a lack in my collection. And all the Oracle decks that I'm creating, as I have a few others in the work along with the tarot, they do something that I don't feel like I currently have. So I feel like there's like this thing that's missing in my collection, so I'm just gonna make it. But anyway, yeah, it's been really, really cool to create this deck. Like, it's been a really interesting process to create a deck. Writing the guidebook was absolutely horrendously painful, I will not lie, which is funny because like I'm a writer. I'm writing a fiction novel. I also have several other nonfiction books in the works. I also like write a practice for my membership every single month and have for over 2 years, going on 2 years now. I think so. Like, writing is not hard for me in a general sense, but writing the guidebook for this deck was excruciating. And I think it was because this deck to me is about the art. It's about what I drew and what that, how that speaks to us on a personal level, you know, not just me, but you too. And like, what do you feel and see and experience when you see this Omen card, or when you see this Bonfire with Gathering, or this Decay with the sort of rundown city? And that to me was the point of the deck. So it was really hard to put any sort of words to it, which was why I just ended up creating like those keyword threads that could be pulled in together. And so once I kind of settled on that's what needed to happen, it was fine, and I got the whole guidebook done. But it was definitely a struggle to get there. Creating the art was much more easier in that sense, because I had a clear sort of idea of the things that I wanted to include in my deck, and then it was just a matter of, you know, taking the time to sit down and draw them. So yeah, it's been really, really fun to create this whole Oracle deck experience. So yeah, like I said, this deck is available in both the full size and the pocket. I guess I didn't really show the pocket too much, but like anywhere you would use a pocket Oracle, like this one just lives with me. It works really great. I use it a lot for punctuations in my readings too. And then the guidebook and journals. So these are available on Mike Playing Cards. This is available on Amazon. Again, links all below. I'm going to talk real quick about a couple other decks that are also available on Mike Playing Cards. This is the Rusted Lenormand. This is not a new deck. I created this deck a couple of years ago when I was learning Lenormand, and that's what this deck was for me. It was a learning experience because I am a visual person, so creating my own cards really helped me to really be able to tap into and understand what the Lenormand meant to me on a personal level. This is the new edition, so it has a tuck box now. The backs are the same. I do believe the artwork is the same, but it is also on that beautiful linen cardstock, which is phenomenal, and I feel like that really, really hits with the energy of this particular deck. It has a very specific color palette. As you can see, I have 2 significator cards, which are plants, and then I have a then my other significator cards, oh look, title cards. Let me find them. Yeah, it's just got a very specific color palette. I think I have walkthroughs probably of this. Where did they go? Clearly I have an aesthetic. I love this fox card. I also love the stars, one of my favorite, and the bears. This is digital art, so it's heavily manipulated photographs. As opposed to the Sacred Threads, which is hand-drawn. So each of my decks have a little bit of a different style to them. Oh, so here you can see I have a partner, a seeker, and then I had 2 significators, so you can hopefully use it in whatever way works for you. I really don't care for the gendered cards in Lenormand, in the traditional Lenormand system, so that's the route I went with this one. So yeah, the new edition is just linen cardstock and in a tuck box, which is fun. Then at the same time, because like I'm ridiculous and I just don't do anything in little bits. I took this particular deck, which you might recognize if you've been on my channel for like several years. I was at one point collaging cards on over the top of another deck. So I had a deck that I, at the time, did not like. Funny enough, I now have like multiple copies of the deck because I've collaged over several of them, and I then have a copy of the deck itself that I do use. But clearly I have it in, again, standard oracle and pocket size. We'll just take a look at the standard oracle. This is a deck that is hand done collage, so every card I have the physical copy of. There's some videos of me creating some of these cards, so you can see the process. I'm calling this one the Finder's Keeper, and I'm calling it volume 1 because I do have more. Like, there's more of these cards in the works. This particular deck has 44 cards. And there is no guidebook with this deck. So there's also no guidebook with the Rusted Lenormand. It just follows your typical Lenormand system. And this deck is meant to be fully intuitive. So there's absolutely no guidebook with it. That's just the title card. Let me show you the backs, which again are also a hand collaged. And then I scanned them all in and then, you know, manipulated colors and did that whole thing. And this is just a hodgepodge of styles and colors, and it's just, again, same linen cardstock as everything else. I just put everything on linen because I just absolutely love the way it shuffles. This is another deck that's really great to do the same thing that I showed you with the Sacred Threads, where you just shuffle, pull a card, and then see what tarot deck is speaking to you, because as you'll see, like, there's a whole different plethora of art styles in this. Every card does have some sort of words, so you can tap into like a keyword or a key phrase. But again, like, they're all completely different, totally different, right? And I kind of like that. It's why it's the Finders Keepers. It's just like whatever was found, that's what I collage together, and whatever moved me in the moment. Some of them do have book pages in it, and I love to pull the text in with the book pages as well. There's a little bit of sort of light and shadow in this deck. But again, this is another really fun one to just like shuffle and pull a card and see what tarot deck feels like it wants. Because like if I got this card, I feel like the Zombie Tarot, right? But this card, I would feel like Somnia. And this card, maybe I might actually feel like Antique Anatomy. I don't know why. That just was what pops into mind. So I love decks like this, like Oracle decks that are just like kind of just a hodgepodge of stuff, because I can use it in that way, and that to me is just fun. Like, it's great for when I have, like I said, tarot paralysis, where I don't know what tarot deck I want to use. I don't really know what I want to do. I want to play with my cards. I want to do a reading. So I'll grab a deck like this. I have other Oracle decks that I do this with too, but I had to put in my D&D reference. Sorry, not sorry, right? Anyway, it's a really fun one to do that kind of a process with, because it just allows me to kind of shuffle and pull and let the oracle kind of determine what sort of tarot I'm gonna pull with it. Because depending on what comes up, like, I'm gonna feel drawn to a different deck. It's gonna feel like it sits in alignment. Like this, to me, like that, for whatever reason, sits in alignment with Dreaming Way energy. That's just what I think of when I think of that card. This, I think of Northern Animal. So that to me is fun. I enjoy that. So it's one of the reasons why I finally took all of these cards and put them into an actual deck, because these originals they got so thick that they weren't actually usable. Also, no, word to the wise, like, if you're going to do this process, I covered the first few cards in contact paper. Do not do that if you want to scan it in. It created really weird bumps and shadows that I had to go in and digitally remove in Photoshop, which was a pain in the booty. And then these ones, I didn't put anything over the top of them. Like, I left them blank, which does mean I have to be like careful in how I store the originals. But now I have this one that I can just like bend, and, you know, I can color and do whatever I want. You can probably tell these are some of the newer cards that I created, which I love. I have another whole deck that I'm doing with these sort of black title key phrases. This was one where I was just doing, this is just a death head moth I drew on, what did I draw that on? I drew it on tracing paper and then cut it out and pasted it over the top of this other card that I collaged. So yeah, oh, there's the title card. So that is the Finders Keepers, which again is just a hodgepodge of whatever fun oracle deck to just pull. Actually, personally, I probably use I use the big one when I do that. I don't know what deck I want to pull type of a thing, because it works really well for that. Pull a random card and then pick a tarot to go with it. But oftentimes I use the pocket, which is, you know, the same thing. Let me just pull out this fresh version so you can see, right? Same deck, just little poker size. This one I find works really well for those accents where I'm like, you know, I do a whole reading and then I add in a couple of smaller oracle cards to sort of punctuate the reading, kind of like you saw me do with the Sovereign Oracle. This one works really, really well for that. So I use this one quite a bit for that too. Oh, tuck boxes. I hate tuck boxes. Can we lay them out nicely? I mean, not really. But there we have it. That is like all of the decks that I've got currently available on Make Playing Cards right now. The Sacred Threads Oracle, the Finder Keepers Volume 1, and the Rusted Lenormand, the new linen edition. Again, all of these are linen, but there was another version of this in the smooth cardstock, so I swapped that out because I just absolutely love the linen. I just think it's so much nicer to shuffle. So again, I will leave links for everything I've shown here in the description box below. I do have another Oracle deck that will be coming out possibly by the end of this year, if not beginning of next, which has crystal skulls, which I'm super excited about because that one, like the Sacred Threads, is kind of like sitting in that like heart space energy for me. So I'm real excited about getting that one out into the world. The art is completely done. So we're kind of at that sort of dreaded guidebook. Y'all, I hate guidebooks. I love guidebooks. I hate writing guidebooks, but I'm at that guidebook step and then going into all the sort of production aspect of things. So hopefully that won't be too terribly much longer. As always, you'll find links for everything I've shown here and all the decks that I played with today in the description box below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.